As I stepped out of the study, my phone was already recording. Tessa, my husband Ethan's sister, had almost finished the cup of coffee now. Her face had turned pale, and her eyes looked distant. My heart was pounding, but strangely, I felt calm. All those things I had sensed, they weren't paranoia. I was finally nearing the truth. Tessa suddenly tried to straighten up in her chair, but her body betrayed her. With trembling fingers, she gripped the edge of the table. "Ethan," she whispered, "something's wrong." Ethan jumped up, knocking his chair over. Panic spread across his face. "Tessa, no, that wasn't your cup," he whispered. But that whisper echoed in the heavy silence of the room. There was no place left to hide. Tessa's eyes widened. "Call an ambulance," she gasped. "I can't breathe, my stomach." "I'm calling 911, I said with a firm voice, lifting the phone to my ear while it continued to record. 1542, Maple Grove Drive. "It's an emergency. My sister-in-law is collapsing. Severe tremors, possible poisoning." Tessa was on the floor now, her body convulsing, eyes fluttering. Ethan was kneeling beside her, pale as death. That wasn't her cup," he murmured. "I made that for Claire." As the sound of sirens grew closer, the air inside the room felt heavier. Ethan raised his head and looked at me. I thought back to the day I met him. How trustworthy, how attentive he had seemed. But now, I was sure, the man in front of me had been systematically making me sick. And he wasn't alone. When the paramedics rushed in, I stepped back and quickly sent the recording to my personal email, then to my lawyer. I needed a permanent record of this moment. As they placed Tessa on the stretcher, I stopped them. "I'll ride with her," I said. "I want to make sure my sister-in-law gets proper treatment." I turned to Ethan. His eyes were filled with fear. "I'm sure the doctors will be very interested to know exactly what was in that coffee," I added. The silence in the room confirmed it. It was over. The emergency room at Nashville General was buzzing with chaos. Tessa was wheeled away as doctors rushed to stabilize her. I sat in the waiting room, my phone in hand, replaying the recording again and again. Tessa's confession, the fear in her voice, Ethan's panicked reaction, it was all there. "Family of Miss Anderson?" a nurse called out. I stood up. Ethan had vanished, claiming he went to park the car. "That was 20 minutes ago. I'm her sister-in-law," I said. "How is she?" The nurse looked serious. "She's stable, but we detected dangerous levels of toxins in her system. The doctor would like to speak to you." Inside the room, Dr. Hall, a tall woman with a composed face and calculating eyes, waited for me. "Mrs. Evans, can you tell us what happened before your sister-in-law collapsed?" Instead of answering, I pulled out my phone. "I think you should listen to this first," I said and played the recording. As she listened, her expression shifted. "This is extremely serious," she said. "This substance didn't get into her coffee by accident. This was deliberate." Just then, Ethan appeared at the end of the hallway. He had clearly overheard what the doctor had said. Sweat clung to his forehead. "Claire, let me explain," he started, taking a step toward me. Dr. Hall didn't hesitate. "Security to room 412, she said calmly. Ethan raised his hands. "This is all a misunderstanding." Tessa didn't know what she was saying. I pulled out my second phone. "And what about these messages I found on your phone last week? The ones planning to take me out before the Henderson presentation?" Ethan's face turned ghostly pale. You looked through my phone?" "Yes. After I found those suspicious bottles in your desk drawer." Dr. Hall's eyes narrowed. "Mrs. Evans has been hospitalized 3 times in the past 6 months. Her symptoms match what we found in Tessa's blood. We'll need to run tests." 2 security guards arrived and flanked Ethan. He kept muttering, "We just wanted her to take a break. She was working too hard." Tessa said if we made her a little sick. By poisoning me? I asked coldly. My hands trembled, but my voice didn't. Ethan didn't answer. Behind him, I saw Tessa through the hospital room window. The arrogance she once wore like armor was gone. Now there was only fear. Detective Campbell is on her way, Dr. Hall said. She'll need statements from everyone. Detective Campbell arrived shortly after, her presence commanding. She had the calm, composed demeanor of someone who had seen the worst of human nature. I told her everything, from the earliest incidents to this morning's coffee. I showed her the logs I had kept, the voice recordings, the text messages. You said you've been keeping records? She asked, flipping through her notes. Yes, I said, pulling a small notebook from my purse. Every symptom, every date, every meal I shared with them. It all started in February. As she listened, I handed her my backup phone, the one I used to secretly record conversations. In one of them, Tessa's voice came through clearly. The Henderson client is worth millions, James. We can't let her ruin this. A few days of illness will be enough. And then Ethan's voice. I've got something stronger this time. She won't make it to the presentation. Through the glass, I saw Tessa lying in her hospital bed, no longer in control. The hospital had started a full toxicology screen. The substances we found in her blood aren't naturally occurring, Dr. Hall confirmed. We'll need samples from their home and offices. A commotion drew our attention down the hallway. Ethan was shouting at the security guards. I need to speak with my wife. Claire, please, you don't understand. Detective Campbell stepped between us. Mr. Evans, this isn't helping. We already have evidence of premeditated poisoning. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. It was a murder. We were just trying to slow her down. By poisoning her, she snapped. What exactly did you think would happen? I asked. What was supposed to happen when I drank that coffee this morning? Ethan said nothing. Behind him, Tessa was watching from her bed. I could almost see the gears turning in her head, trying to find a way to twist the truth. We'll need both of their phones, Campbell instructed. Post officers outside their doors. No one leaves until we get those toxicology results. Dr. Hall walked into Tessa's room, holding a tablet. The report shows high levels of several dangerous compounds. One of them is typically used in pharmaceutical testing, not something civilians should have access to. Tessa's face turned white. That's impossible. It was only meant to cause mild symptoms, Ethan said weakly. Mild. Detective Campbell scoffed. Like the ones Claire has been experiencing for the last 6 months. Another officer entered with an evidence bag. We found these in Mr. Evans' office, small bottles with dosage notes and logs. My knees almost gave out. You were documenting everything? Like some kind of experiment. It wasn't like that, Tessa said, but her voice wavered. The earlier doses didn't work. She kept showing up. We had to increase it. You knew these substances could be lethal, Campbell said. Ethan slumped into a chair. The Henderson client. It wasn't just the presentation, was it? I asked. They requested me personally. You wanted me gone. Tessa clenched her jaw. You ruined everything. I built that portfolio for years. Then you came along and stole the spotlight. Ethan said he could fix it. By killing me. Dr. Hall's voice was grave. The amount in your coffee today was significantly higher than the previous samples. Had you consumed it, the result could have been fatal. We'll need a full warrant, Campbell said. And we'll contact the pharmaceutical company. We need to know how they got access to these substances. Tessa collapsed back against her pillows. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she whispered. Ethan kept saying just one more try. I stepped toward her bed. My hands shook, but my voice was strong. Every time I got sick, every meeting I missed, every opportunity one lost, you were there, taking notes on how your poison worked. What does that make you? The silence was deafening. In the hallway, I could hear Ethan being read his rights. Tessa stared at her hands. Detective, I said, turning away from my sister-in-law. I'm ready to give my formal statement. The trial lasted 3 weeks, but it felt like years. Day by day, the prosecution laid out the evidence, the recordings, the texts, the bottles, the dosage logs. Tessa sat motionless. Ethan never looked up. Dr. Hall's testimony was devastating. She proved the poisonings had escalated over time. A pharmaceutical representative confirmed that the substances were stolen from a research lab by one of Ethan's college friends. This wasn't just corporate sabotage, the prosecutor said in closing. This was attempted murder. Cold, calculated, and nearly successful. When the verdict was read, I felt no joy, only relief. Ethan and Tessa were both found guilty on multiple counts, including attempted murder and conspiracy. The deliberate and extended nature of these actions demands the maximum sentence, the judge stated. Their careers, reputations, freedom, all sacrificed in an effort to destroy me. 1 year later, I stood at the podium of the Nashville Business Leaders Conference, the very event Tessa tried to keep me from. The Henderson account, the one they fought so hard to steal, had brought in even more major clients. I had become one of the most trusted executives in the region. Success isn't just about talent or hard work, I said to the crowd. It's about integrity, building relationships based on trust. Sometimes the biggest threats come from those closest to us, but overcoming them makes us stronger. Later that evening, a young woman approached me. How did you stay so composed through it all? She asked. I focused on what I could control, I told her. I gathered evidence, trusted my instincts, and refused to let fear stop me. That night, I received an email. The Henderson client had renewed their contract for another 3 years. I smiled, thinking about how different everything could have turned out if I hadn't trusted my gut that day at brunch. A small article about Ethan and Tessa starting their prison sentences ran in the paper that morning. I didn't read it. I had work to do, a new proposal to deliver. The best revenge was never about getting even. It was about moving forward and thriving despite those who try to hold you back.